All right, all right, all right. Just checking here. I think we're live on all of the different channels, it looks like. Yes. All right, great. So let's get started. Hi, everyone. I am Lori Swanson. I am the CEO of Inspire Tech and the founder of Career Alchemy Academy. We are a community of women in tech and product who, uh, are passionate about uh, building community, being in community, supporting each other, um, and and asking each other for support is like a cornerstone of what we do inside of Career Alchemy Academy. And even with my private coaching clients, there's I often go to networking events with them as a form of support or connect them to people within my network. And the reason I'm talking about that part of what we do, or the cornerstone of Career Alchemy Academy, and even working with a coach, this sort of connection to someone else for support or connecting to a larger network to support your career, is because today I'm going to talk about a little bit of the opposite of that, I would say. And I called this, in my newsletter, I called this blog This Might Crash and Burn My Coaching Business. And so let me just get into it. Let's just get into it. I had been thinking a lot lately about like what the next 6 months might look like for me. Like, what do I want the last half of 2026? Like, what's my intention around that, right? And so we just did inside of Career Alchemy Academy, we did our mid-year refresh session, and where we talk about just that topic, and we also pick an oracle card so that we have a touchstone. We have our annual touchstone as the foundation that we do in December. And then mid-year, we pick another oracle card from a different deck this time, where that helps to really, because we're focused on this idea of creating positive abundance in our lives, we were tying the last half of the year into that theme, as well as how it connects to the larger theme for the year. And so it was just a really great event. But of course, mid-year has me thinking about my intentions for the rest of the year and what I want that to look like. And so and really what I realized was I was thinking less about like to-do lists and what I want to do or create specifically the second half of the year, and more about who I want to be the second half of the year. Like, who am I? And the big question that kept coming up for me was, and this is crashing and burning coaching industry altogether, was what if I stopped, I did less looking outside of myself for answers, and I spent more time going inside, and really allowing my own inner wisdom to offer me some solutions or some guidance that the external going outside of myself, um, in search of answers, um, letting that sort of become less of what I'm doing and going inside and starting there first. And so again, how there's a juxtaposition here is because, first of all, I am a coach and I believe so strongly in having support. I had my first therapist in, like, I don't know, I guess it was um a long time ago. And my mom actually arranged it for me. And I had a bad breakup with a boyfriend. I may have talked about this, but bad breakup with a boyfriend. And I literally didn't think I could get out of bed. Like, I was feeling that low. But I did get out of bed, and I told my mom, I don't think I can get out of bed. And she immediately got this therapist for me. And it was one session. It changed my life, changed my life. And so I think that's where I was like, gosh, someone outside of me, someone wiser, someone who's maybe walked through it before, has a lot of value they can offer me. But also, not just, therapists, but coaches or mentors or um, books, friends and family. All of these people are resources for guidance and wisdom. And, you know, I've been very grateful for that. It's definitely made a difference. And I think that, you know, out of that, I've built a great life with guidance and support. Even AA meetings, I'll, put for those, in recovery, that community is just a huge support, and can be a huge support, right? And I think that with that wisdom, that external wisdom, that I've taken more risks, that I've just really loved the life I've built, and even the mistakes I've made, along the way, even with outward guidance, it doesn't mean that the guidance you're getting is necessarily the right guidance for you, but I took it, and I did what I did, and I'm sometimes, succeeded, and sometimes you might call it a failure. Though, failing gets a bad rap, right? Because it's not a failure. As alchemists, we know that there's real gold there that we can use, and that is exactly that the value in that, so-called failure is actually the springboard for what's next for us, and it helps to fuel it and guide it as well. So I'm so grateful for all of that, and I love my life, and I love everything I built. But lately, I've been curious about something specific, very specific. I've been thinking about going on a silent retreat. And the reason that that's come up, I think, is because I'm interested in hearing what my inner voice has to say. And right now, and it's not just external support, but there's just a lot of noise. And I think we all would agree with that, right? There's just a lot of outward external noise happening. And I think that's why I'm craving quiet so much, and just wanting to not escape, you know, technically, but more, like remove myself from the noise, get quiet, and center in stillness, and start to hear and see images and hear wisdom that's inside of me. And so of sort of like, instead of immediately reaching for setting an appointment with my coach, or a podcast, and like, oh, this, I know this person I follow, their podcast, they might have some wisdom around this, or a book, or again, a mentor, or friends and family, any of those things, instead of going first outside. And ChatGPT, come on, with Claude and Chat and Copilot and AI in general, and the access it has to the data, all the data that's ever been, almost ever, as they continue to learn and learn and learn, these models are just, they have all the info, right? And I've been really having fun creating prompts to see what different prompts would deliver me different insights, and that just really feeds my instant gratification need. And I think that's sort of a parallel to this desire lately about wanting quiet. Is I think I also want to explore instant gratification a little bit more, and really start to put some beats between, a need, like a question that I have to have answered, or even an urge that might come up for candy or something. putting some space between that and what I might normally do through just instantly like picking up my phone or grabbing, something sweet to eat. Like what would it mean to put some space and quiet and silence between the question or the urge and allowing something inside of me to guide that instead of immediately kind of responding to it, if that makes sense. Like immediately satisfying with the closest thing that might not necessarily, and my genes are going to tell you this, might not necessarily be the best solution. It's just a solution that helps calm me down a little bit. And so I've been thinking a lot about this space and this quiet and this stillness. And what if I sat with my own questions a little bit longer, and instead of looking outside of myself, instead of that immediately, reaching for an external solution, what if I ask myself, like, first of all, I always like to go to, you know, how am I feeling right in this moment? But then, if I knew the ideal support for me in this moment, what would that be? If I already knew, like, what do I already know? Because we all know so much, and I talk to my coaching clients about this a lot, is you really have the answers inside of you. Sometimes some logistical things can be helped. Sometimes a coach asking some really good pointed questions will get your brain firing on, again, the information you have already inside of you. That's that perfect pairing between a coach and a person, a client working with a coach, is this idea, this belief from the coach and from you that the ideas the answers are already there. They're already available to you in some way, or can become available to you through quiet, through stillness, and through signs and coincidences and synchronicities. And that the coach might actually spark some of that. So, again, some ways I may be burning down the coaching industry when I say, hey, no external resources, just go inside for all your answers. I'm sure I'm burning down AI. I'm sure that'll no longer be a thing now that we're all going inside. We don't need that, right? Yeah. But there is something to, starting first with yourself and your own inner guidance system and your own knowing. And so, there's, I call it the divine line, but it's sort of this connection to, I think about it as this just, through the earth, up through my body, into this tapestry of connections, this web of consciousness, right? That's out there, and that we have this divine line, that this thread in the tapestry that's connecting us to this bigger knowing, and that we're always connected to it, right? We're always connected. And we've become so habituated to instant gratification or looking outside of ourselves for answers, that we've lost the thread, that it's like, I feel like the more we use it, the more it vibrates and like expands throughout our bodies and accesses even more. And when it's never gone, but it's just quieter and more still than energetically than it needs to be. But it does require our engagement. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It requires our engagement, just asking, hey, what do I already know? What do I think about this? if I had the right answer inside of me for my next step, what would that look like for my next career move, right? And so, and it's not about becoming, like I said, that wonderful relationship between coach and client. It's not about becoming independent of support, but it's about building another type of support muscle, the one that's inside of you, this thread, right? And strengthening. And I do believe that when you begin to build the, like you know, the relationship with your inner voice, that you build self-trust. And that's kind of what I'm going for. Like, I think it's, to know that you know what's best for you, to know that you know what's next for you, and um, and to know exactly what questions to ask externally by starting first with yourself. Like, oh, I've already know the answer to that. I know the answer to that. Oh, here's where I'm a little stuck. Here's where I could use some support, but not going right to it and then having the external sources fill in gaps that are from their point of view, right? Not necessarily yours. And it'll help you make more informed questions from your external support by having gone inside first. So it's really about following your inner career voice. When I think about this for all the career women in tech and product out there, it's like before you ask everyone else what you should do next in your career, sit with it quietly and, sit with yourself and your inner wisdom quietly first and ask that question of yourself, because perhaps the path to your next step actually begins with getting still enough to hear your inner voice and the guidance that it has already resting inside of you. Just like yearning to be heard. We all want to be heard, including your inner voice. So I came up with 3 ways to build that connection to your inner voice that I wanted to share today. And the first one is basically finding a new starting point. So it's what I've been talking about. It's not, it's a hard one for us instant gratification people, I could tell you that. But instead of going to your phone or to the podcast or the book or your best BFF or your spouse or your mentor at work or even emailing your coach or asking a friend, instead ask yourself, what do I already know about this subject? So start with your inner voice first. So that's number 1. Finding a new starting place. It isn't outside of you, but it's inside. That's number 1. The second thought I had was putting that space, a little buffer between when you have that urge or to have the answer, and letting your inner voice, giving it some time to respond. So wait 24 hours. So find a new starting point and then wait 24 hours before you go outside of yourself, and just give your inner voice some time to pull together all of its thoughts, ideas, and wisdom to share with you. And then number 3 is creating more silence. So similar, again, they all kind of build on each other, that little bit of pause, but then number 3 is just that's the silent retreat I'm talking about. Maybe it's not full week at Karapalu or something like that. Do I always say that wrong? I don't know. You know what I'm talking, Omega. I can say that one. Maybe it's not a week retreat there at Omega, but even though I do want to do that, but perhaps it's just a weekend or one day where you rent a hotel room and you bring your journal, you lock your phone in one of those phone boxes that they let you lock them in, or the safe, and give yourself a break off of that and just start to use your pen as an outlet for your inner voice. Close your eyes and allow those images to come, and then write those down and ask yourself, so what does this mean? How does this relate to my uh, to the thing I'm trying to get answers around. Um, Sometimes it will say talk to Joe, or ask Jane, right? And that's super valid. That's from your inner voice. So creating more silence, a walk without your earphones in, your earbuds in, or just that, um, kind of mini silent retreat that I was just talking about. Even if it's not, it could be a simple like telling everyone for the next hour that you're going to be, in the bedroom doing some journaling and don't disturb me, getting engaging, support around that from your partner or hiring a babysitter if you need to, whatever it is, but creating larger chunks of time and over again, not just once, but mixing it up and trying different ways every week to find that silence and start to build that relationship with that inner wisdom, but also building your self-trust at the same time, which is a beautiful outcome to all of this. So it's an experiment. Let's see where it takes you. Let me know. And if you have any like silent retreat places or just like anything about silent retreats, what you got out of them, if you've done them, what you loved about them, what I should know, how difficult was it to be, I know, not talking. Could you imagine? I can't imagine. So, but I'd love to hear that. Just email me or DM me or however you have contact with me, and recommend places. I want to do this. I am going to do this, or at least I'm going to bring this idea to my inner self, and I'm going to say, what do you think about Lori going to Omega for a week-long silent retreat? So that's what I have to share today. I do think in the end, it isn't going to burn down the coaching industry. It isn't going to burn down AI, but I do think ultimately it will make me a better coach. And I think it'll make us all like better humans, like because we're in order to when we quiet things down, that energy I just watched, okay, I thought I was done, but I'm not. I just watched the Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary last night. My husband and I watched it. And there was a scene where they were at an event. I forget where they were, but they were the opening act. And the crowd wasn't there for them. You know how it is with the opening act. They're really there for the main. I think it was, what's that guy's name? It doesn't matter. But so they were there for the main event, right? And so the Earth, Wind, and Fire took the stage, and the Maurice White, who started Earth, Wind, and Fire and was the leader, he told his whole band, sit down in the lotus position, and they really began to just silently meditate. And the crowd, there was a lot of like I think, the guy said cups were being thrown at him at one point. There was probably some booing going on. I mean, it was not a great beginning to their show, but what ended up happening was, and of course this document is a documentary, so you could see this. They're on stage in lotus position. The crowd is a little unruly and really yelling for the other band, and then all of a sudden everything starts to calm down. The crowd starts to calm down. They became more curious and receptive to what Earth, Wind, and Fire, who were not who they eventually became to be at this point, they were in the beginnings of their career, but they, through the energy of this silence, that energy, we talk about inside of Career Alchemy Academy, we talk about different levels of energy, and this idea that you can have some influence on the level of energy that you bring, your own energy, of course, but that can influence the energy, let's say, in a meeting, especially if, you know, some bad news has occurred and now you're the person that needs to talk about it to the team, for example, and your energy can influence that. And it isn't, when it integrates, the energy will integrate with the calmest energy in the room, not the frenetic energy. And that saw that in action on that documentary, which I recommend. And just for that scene alone of seeing this crowd, like just, and how silence created this calm. And so that's what I mean by being, now I'm going to cry again. That's what I mean about being a better human, is that as we bring forth this calming energy from ourselves, as we begin to tune in into silence and quiet to hear our own inner wisdom, we're giving off a calmer, more quiet energy that's impacting for the better the world. And couldn't we use more of that right now? So that's it. Swear to God, that's it for today. Definitely DM me, join Career Alchemy Academy. We've got some cool stuff happening inside of there. And, if you want to get on a call, just reach out to me. I'm always willing to chat and talk about what it would look like to work together, and also help you however I can on that call with where you might be stuck. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. Go inside, get quiet, and ask your inner voice, what should I do today? What might be the most fun thing for me to do? And sometimes that'll be, the next project on your work list. And sometimes that'll be shut down the laptop and go for a walk. Peace. Talk to y'all soon. Next week might be a slight variation on time, I believe. I think we may have moved it to Thursday. That could be untrue. No, it's not true. I think we're at regular time next week. But if you join our email list, you'll get a reminder about that at the roundup. The roundup